I would sign a deal with the provinces that has as the following goals. One, 60-day maximum wait time. So if someone comes here as a doctor, they should be able to write an exam to test whether they're qualified and within 60 days get a yes or no answer. Mm-hmm. Right now it's years.
What's your take on this Khalistan Referendum, an independent and sovereign state for Sikhs?
Justin Trudeau brought in liberal changes that for example, to bail that allow repeat violent offenders who've been convicted multiple times and are arrested to be released often the same day. And then they go back out and reoffend again and again and again.
In spite of the increase in the interest rates, inflation is not being controlled. In the event you become the Prime Minister, what would be your strategy?
The more Trudeau spends, the more things cost. It's just inflation.
ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਐਵ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਉਹ 7 ਵਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਚੁਣੇ ਜਾ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਸਟੀਫਨ ਹਾਰਪਰ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਖਾਸ ਭਰੋਸੇਯੋਗ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੀਨੀਅਰ ਕੈਬਨਿਟ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਸਰਵ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਵਰ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਫ ਦੀ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੇਡੀਓਥਾਨ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ, ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਵੰਡ ਛਕਣ ਦੇ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੋੜਤਾ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਮਿਸਟਰ ਪੋਲੀਐਵ, ਗੁੱਡ ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ।
Good morning.
Afternoon, actually.
Thank you. Wariguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Wariguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Happy to do it. And I want to wish you and your listeners a wonderful celebration of Guru Nanak and his birthday. And I thank you for raising so much money for the food bank on this special day.
How's your trip going?
So far, so good. I've been meeting with businesses, workers, cultural outreach to communities of all different kinds, and I've had a great visit so far, and I'm sharing my vision of putting people back in charge of their lives, making Canada the freest country on earth.
Mr. Poilievre, we are an immigrant community, and
yes.
We keep watch on immigration policies.
Yes.
And lately, our minister, Sean Fraser, has announced that he will be bringing more 500,000 people in the next 3 years. And I was just wondering, where are we going to accommodate? How are we going to provide the infrastructure and where are we going to house them? What's your take on that?
Well, the problem is that we have an incompetent Liberal government that can't deliver any of its promises. We have 2.6 million people waiting in a backlog to have their immigration applications processed. 1.2 million are behind the service standard already. And then when immigrants do arrive, they have trouble finding housing because we have so many government gatekeepers that prevent construction. So what I'm proposing is we have to clear the backlog, the waiting list for employers trying to bring workers to the country, for families trying to unite with loved ones, and for not-for-profits trying to sponsor refugees. And secondly, we need to sign a new deal with the provinces on recognizing foreign credentials so that newcomers to Canada who arrive as doctors or engineers can actually get a job working in their field rather than being shut out by the professional licensing body. So I'm going to sign a deal that would allow them to get an answer, a yes or no answer, within 60 days of applying to work in their field. And I'm going to back up 30,000 small study loans for immigrants who need time off work to get themselves studied up to the Canadian standard and licensed to work as doctors, engineers, architects, and others positions with big, powerful paychecks serving our economy.
In spite of the increase in the interest rates, inflation is not being controlled. In the event you become the Prime Minister, what would be your strategy?
Well, first, let's understand why we have this inflation. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. $500 billion of Trudeau's inflationary deficits have sent more money building up the price of existing goods. More taxes, including their plan to triple the carbon tax, have made it more expensive to produce those goods. The more Trudeau spends, the more things cost. It's just inflation. And that is why we need to reverse these policies. I would cap government spending, put in place a law requiring the government find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending. I would get the Bank of Canada back to its core mandate of sound money and low inflation rather than printing money to pay for government spending. I would get rid of the carbon tax to lower the cost of fuel, food, and home heating. And finally, I would remove government red tape and regulations that hold back production. Instead of creating more cash, we have to produce more of what cash buys, build more homes, grow more food, and generate more Canadian energy affordably for our people. And right now, that's not happening because there's too much government obstacles in the way to get building permits, to get approvals. I would speed that up so we can produce more of those affordable goods right here in Canada.
Mm-hmm. On Saturday in the press conference, you mentioned that in the event you become the Prime Minister of Canada, you will remove all the gatekeepers and let the doctors come in and practice medicine.
That's right.
Would you do that? Can you commit it to it?
Well, here's my plan. The provinces are responsible for occupational licensing. I would sign a deal with the provinces that has as the following goals. 1, 60-day maximum wait time. So if someone comes here as a doctor, they should be able to write an exam to test whether they are qualified and within 60 days get a yes or no answer. Mm-hmm. Right now it's years. And right now there's lots of discrimination because the licensing bodies, they try to compare Canadian medical schools to Indian or Chinese or Middle Eastern medical schools. You can't match them up. They're different countries. What you need to do is have a consistent testing of the competency. If someone passes the test, it doesn't matter where they studied, they should be licensed. So I would speed it up, have a test based on merit. Second, I want to provide 30,000 small study loans. So if you're an immigrant doctor, but you're stuck in a low-wage job because you don't have a license, we'll give you a loan. You can leave your job, study for 3-4 months, take the exam, and qualify to get licensed. Finally, I'm going to create modules so that future immigrants can start studying to get licensed in Canada before they even arrive. So while they're waiting in Mumbai or in Shanghai or Beirut, they can study to prepare to become an engineer or an architect in Canada. And that way, when they arrive, they're already licensed and ready to go. So that's my plan to get our immigrants working in their professions.
Mm-hmm. And also, in justice system, we have many things that needs to be changed.
Yes.
One of them is a revolving door for the criminals.
Yes.
Repeated criminals go in, come out, go in, come out. The police is busy catching them and taking to the court, and then it's a futile effort.
Yes. Justin Trudeau brought in liberal changes that, for example, to bail that allow repeat violent offenders who have been convicted multiple times and are arrested to be released often the same day. And then they go back out and reoffend again and again and again. I was reading a letter from BC mayors showing that something like 6,000 offenses or 6,000 arrests for the same 40 people.
Yeah. 40
people, 6,000 arrests. So the problem is not that we have lots of criminals. The problem is we have a few criminals who are doing lots of crime. That small number should be put in prison and kept there. Secondly, we should stop diverting resources to go after law-abiding and licensed firearms owners and instead go after the gun criminals by putting the money into border security to keep the smuggling out and putting more tools in the hands of police to get the criminals off the streets. Under Justin Trudeau, violent crime is up 32%. His approach is not working. We need to change it. We need to change the government to make our streets safe.
Mm-hmm. Talking about this licensing, gun licensing, acquisition, firearm permits.
Yes.
Now, recently, that the present government has decided to buy out some guns, banning the revolvers and pistols. So, in the event you have a government, would you do the same thing what was done to the long gun registry, or things will change?
Excuse me. Look, the problem is not licensed firearms owners. You talk to police. I talked to the police in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. They all say the same thing. 80% of the guns used in crime are illegal firearms, most of them smuggled from the U.S.
Yeah.
It's not the licensed, law-abiding, vetted, and tested firearms owner. Criminals don't bother getting their license. Criminals just steal guns, mostly or smuggle them from the United States. The Trudeau government is going to spend $5 billion taking back the lawfully acquired property of licensed law-abiding firearms owners who don't commit crime, instead of going after the criminals who are circulating smuggled guns. I would put the money into border security and stronger laws to keep our people safe.
What will happen to this law? Because the hunters, the farmers, and target shooters, they want to know from you.
Right.
Would you just scrap this law, or would it'll be still applicable?
So
or what will happen?
my policy, I'm not going to confiscate hunting rifles and other legitimate civilian use firearms like that. I think that the problem is illegal firearms that are smuggled over the border, brought into this country by criminals. We need to secure the border against criminal smuggling and put the emphasis on law enforcement and put violent criminals who repeatedly offend behind bars.
And my last question is, what's your take on this Khalistan Referendum, an independent and sovereign state for Sikhs?
So I believe in a united India. That is my position, but I believe in freedom of expression, so people are entitled to their own opinion on these matters. And I'm not going to interfere in the domestic politics of another country. My view is we should focus on the problems we have here at home, of which we have plenty already.
Anything else you'd like to say in closing?
I just wish everybody a wonderful celebration today in honor of Guru Nanak and his teachings of oneness of humanity, and to celebrate those principles and give generously to your food bank. There's plenty of people who need help.
Mr. Poilievre, thank you very much for coming in and encouraging our donors.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you.